Almost 2 years to the day since your last fight. How good does it feel to get back in there and win?
Amazing. There's no words to describe the feeling of walking out, competing, and walking out with a victory. There's no words to describe the feeling.
How close were you truly to not fighting?
I questioned it. I kind of knew I was going to continue to fight, but there was that time when I just thought, man, I don't know what the next right step is. So I just kind of played it by ear, and I started getting asked to share my story at high schools, a bunch of different places where get in trouble, and I don't know. I started following that a little bit, but I couldn't take the fight at me, so I just made that decision. I thought about it and prayed about it, and decided I gotta come back. I still want to fight, and not to prove anything. I don't have to prove anything. I wanted to fight to compete. I love the competition. I love being 2 minutes into the fight, trying to figure that, that's where now I've hit you, you've hit me. Now it's time for me to figure out how to beat you, and that's where the fight starts. That's what I felt tonight. He kind of was landing a little bit, and it was slow, and I couldn't get to him. And he had to. The challenge is me figuring out how I could beat that guy, and that's what that's what I thrive on. That in there.
Well, and it seems too that the fact that you are an inspiration to people, all the things you have gone through in your life, that is certainly a big, huge part of it too, though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I compete to carry the message to people who struggle. I just remember being in a spot where I thought there was nowhere else to go, and that life was done, and that was 20, 21 years old. And I know there's millions and millions of people out there that don't think there's a way out, and when I compete, if somehow they hear a little bit of my story, and it gives them some inspiration to, make the next right decision, whether it's to not use or it doesn't matter. I just, I fight, and I fight for recovery.
How close to getting submitted were you?
Oh, and the guillotine?
Yeah.
Not close. It wasn't bad at all. It was just, it was tight, but he was kind of squished up against the cage, and my chin was tucked before he pulled. I let him pull, and I dropped because I knew he wasn't on. But I kind of figured I'd pop my head out and try and pass, but...
Despite that, he still had a pretty good first round, Alejandro did. What was going through your mind between the first and second?
Between the first and second? Well, towards the end of the first round, I was starting to time. He was sitting, and I was going to try and hit him before he threw the kick or before he threw the straight left. But that little... I needed to hit him right before he moved. I was trying to figure out how to counter that straight left and counter that kick, or block it and come back. And so I started to towards the end of the round. And so coming into the second round, I needed to feint and try and close that distance, or counter by making him miss and then come in with a combination, try and finish and get him on the ground. So I started figuring him out.
From a physical standpoint,
Yeah.
Gord, how many injuries were you really dealing with, and what was the journey like for you to come back from the injuries that you did have?
Well, I had the scapholunate ligament was detached, so like the ACL of my wrist. And so after the fight was over in December 14th, 2013, I got home and I couldn't. I have a younger son who was 4 or 3 at the time, and I couldn't pick him up because my wrist would just and I couldn't pour a cup of coffee, and so I called Dr. Davidson, and I went and they did this PRP, and they thought that would help it, so I had to cast, and my other wrist was bothering me, and I took the 4 months and started the therapy, and this little thing started swelling up, and so I called Dr. Davidson again, and he got me into a hand specialist. So almost 5 months passed before I went and saw a hand specialist, and he went in after 5 minutes. He said, your scapholunate ligament's detached. You got to get it fixed. You need to go into surgery. Oh, by the way, it's going to be a year before you can get back in there and use it and grab it. And I just was devastated. I just wasted 6 months, because at a year I would have been fighting, or training for a fight. And so now it was like, well, 15, 16 months from now you'll be training. And 15, 16 months from then is when I started my first. I did a 6-week camp, like I was training for a fight, just to see if I had it in here, and to see if my body had it, and that's what I did.
How implemental were your teammates and coaches in really rallying behind you and encouraging you to come back?
Oh man, it made all the difference in the world. My very first real big fight was against Jeremy Horn, just a few fights after he fought Chuck Liddell for the title. And I fought him my 5th or 6th pro fight in Utah, and I wasn't. And my first real coaching experience was with Rob Handley. He's from Absolute MMA in Utah, and I reunited with him again. And he's my main training camp in Utah now. And all of my teammates, I had 2 or 3 teammates move back, and they've just showed up day in and day out. Steve Seiler and Ramsey Nijum, Rock Jardine, all these guys, just came out of the woodwork. Hey man, what do you need? What do you need? And, man, they just pushed me. I found out 14 weeks ago that I was fighting, and I started training that night. So.
What do you talk about? Being away from 2 years is different when you get in the octagon. And what were your expectations about how you physically feel? And did you feel like you performed to your peak expectations?
I tried not to have any expectations. I've had a year off before, and I did. I would sit and I'd overthink. Oh, well, when I go out there, how am I going to feel, and what am I going to think? And that stuff's weird. Thank God I'm half blind, because I got up there today and I saw Joe Rogan, and I was just looking at Joe Rogan. He was talking, and I was thinking, if I was watching the fight, what would Joe Rogan be? And I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? Okay, start moving around, And so I don't know. I just you think of all these things that go on, especially the night. I didn't sleep at all last night, and I was just going through the fight and what I've done and what's happened and this and that, and you go through so many emotions as a fighter, a UFC fighter, and as a fighter anywhere. And man, I tried not to have any expectations, and I showed up. And I tried to practice what we trained over the last 14 weeks and what I've learned over my career over the last 24 or 25 fights. And I tried to enjoy it. It's my birthday today, and I'm 31 years old, and when I look in the mirror, I'm proud of what I've become today.
Feel good to get punched in the face live again?
It did, man. I got hit a
I
couple
know, it's been a long
times.
time. We've been talking about this for a long time.
No.
Feel nice
Spencer's
to
doing
finally
my
get-
book. Spencer's doing my book. This guy knows me probably as well as anybody in the world. I mean, everything. My autobiography.
You joke about not being able to see Joe or hear Joe, but do you see Chuck? 'Cause it's hard to miss him sometimes.
Oh yeah, he showed up. I love Chuck. He's just something else. But man, I could hear him, and when I was coming back to my corner, I could see him over there doing this. And he's always like that. He's so intense. Such a gentle guy too. But man, you're getting, man, he just pumps you up,
Right.
and I could see him over there just. Oh, you gotta do this. When I was elbowing the guy, I could, harder, go harder. It's like, harder, harder. So awesome.
Congrats.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.